and the power of J Skull. And I don't want this to be over, but it's over, so let's talk about it.
Yes, welcome, obviously, as Jace says, welcome to Power Jace. I'm VHS Jace, Jason Roy, but this is a bittersweet episode. This is
Yes.
like being given the best drugs ever, not that I condone drug usage, and then being told, after this, you're never having it again. So,
Yes, unfortunately.
unfortunately. But I will defy that because I don't think on this show it will be the end of Shira in total, but certainly we're at the end of the series. And honestly, when did we start this? I think 4 or 5 months ago. I think we started this journey.
I want to say around Christmas time, right?
Yeah, I reckon even before then. I reckon around November, October,
Wow.
November. Either way, what a journey it's been. I have been recorded multiple times gushing about this show, and it continues to be like that. You know, it's probably the favourite animated series I think I've seen.
It is.
Yeah, it's
I'm
up there.
sorry, go ahead.
It's up there. So,
Yeah,
anyway,
is, oh, no. It is.
go.
We're trying not to step on each other here, but it's not doing too well.
We just love the show so much.
I
We're just
know,
all fanboying out.
Yeah, it is. It is a spectacular series, probably one of the best. I would say it's up there with Avatar: The Last Airbender, most definitely. Up there with
Yeah.
Steven Universe. Yes, Steven Universe. I think Steven Universe is amazing,
Mm.
and it's been so much fun just revisiting this series, and I
Yeah.
kind of want to do it again, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. Because remember, this is my first watch through of the series. So essentially, there's a lot of things I think I would benefit out of a rewatch. And I think we're going to exploit that at some point on this show about going back and having a look at some of these key episodes minimum. But until then, we're here to talk about the last 7 episodes of season 5, episodes 8 to 13. And wow, you know, we ended the last episode with a delightful little cliffhanger, but a delightful episode because anytime I could get to see Scorpia singing, you've won me over. So,
Scorpia singing and the return of Double Trouble. Just
of course, yes, the recording of Double Trouble.
two great
Not enough
tastes in
Double
one.
Trouble.
It's like a peanut butter and chocolate cup. I just love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but there's never enough of Double Trouble though, and especially we don't get enough. Some of this coming up too, if I was to be frankly honest with you. But let's dig into it. Let's have a look at the synopsis for episode 8, Shot in the Dark. So the squad heads to the planet Krytus to find a way to get past Horde Prime's blockade on Etheria. Shadow Weaver appeals to Castaspella for help. Yeah, we're right into it. We ain't mucking around by episode 8. It's very like, let's get home, Jason.
Yes, and I'm glad that they didn't drag the space saga out too long. I think it lasted just long enough. And I think that this was a great way to wrap it all up.
Yeah, because it feels pretty well early in the episode that, oh, no, we ain't going home yet. We've got to divert to a planet because they're out of fuel, I believe, correct? That's
Yes, they're running out of fuel, they're running out of everything, and they got to get home.
They've got to get home. But, you know, before, you know, they get to Krytus, the dynamic that we now have, we're seeing, you know, this group together, including Catra, who is starting to become, dare I say, socially functional with these guys.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. I think Bo and Glimmer are having too much fun with her in this episode because there are certain points that had me cracking up. Bo starts to see Catra in a very adorable way in this episode, and it had me cracking up.
Well, the ears on the spacesuit were
Pretty
adorable.
amazing.
They were adorable.
They were adorable. And the part where Glimmer and Bo, oh, you got to go and this is your first mission, and they grab her arm by arm and they're dancing around. Catra's first mission. I'm sorry, it's a stupid joke, but I'm loving that way of them trying to break down the walls between, you know, Catra and Glimmer and Bo. I feel like it's a purposeful action by them to, you know, connect with Catra. So I thought it was great. I thought it was
I
fantastic.
agree. There's lots of playing on vulnerabilities here. And where Catra has been vulnerable despite herself, I think Bo and Glimmer are just like they did with Adora, showing her that vulnerabilities are perfectly fine and vulnerabilities make you who you are. And it's fine to be vulnerable around your friends. And so Bo telling Catra that she's adorable and watching Catra's tail fluff out and going, oh, that is vulnerability, and vulnerability is not always a bad thing.
What an excellent point you made there, though, because it is an echo of what they did with the door early in the series, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's fantastic. Now, the other great major part of this episode I dug was the introduction. This show's almost over, and we're still introducing new characters, which I love about this. And we get a great new character in Milog.
Yes, Golem spelled backwards.
Yes.
So, yeah, make with
There
that
you-
what you will.
Yes, absolutely. But I do like the connection. I think there's something there about Milog connecting with Catra and bonding themselves with Catra that I really liked because, I think this is a Catra episode for me mostly because it is really about her starting to face up to consequences and realise that not everyone's out to get her. So it's a very transformative episode for her, I thought, anyway.
It is,
What a
and it's-
mind-bending planet it was.
Oh, it was. I love these weird episodes where they go into a mystic room or they go to a planet that feeds off their brains and makes all this weird stuff happen. And it's also a very nice way to reimagine Catra's cat form from the Filmation series into this new DreamWorks series. Because in case you don't know, in the Filmation series, whenever Catra would put her mask on, she would transform into a purple panther, kind of like, I guess is what you would call it. And she never had that ability in this show, although at one point, whenever they were making the plans in that one episode, Bo said she could, and Frosta was like, can she do that? I don't think she can do that. So they had fun with it that time. But Milog is the reimagining of Catra's cat form. And there is a very nice bond between Catra and this creature. And Milog is just cool. I love how Milog is kind of like a mimic, not only with the sounds and the facial features, but also with the emotions. Whenever Catra is angry, Milog is angry. Whenever Catra is calm, Milog is calm. And it's kind of like a form of therapy for Catra. Because whenever she sees that Milog is angry, she knows to check herself. And I thought what an ingenious thing to put in this series.
Yeah, you do find that's another great. You're on fire here, Jason, because that's another great point. We do see Catra catching herself quite a bit here.
Yes.
Like making a real concerted effort to not do what she would normally do. And I think that's showing real growth.
Now, did she say she was working on herself before she met Milog or after? Because I think she said it before, right?
I think she said it before with a little bit of an eye twitch, I think.
Yes, I'm trying to work on... Are you really? Eye sparkles. Oh, so much fun. So much fun.
The animation, by the way, I feel like it's been a slow evolution of the animation style in this. But by this point, I've read some criticism about the leaning towards some of the anime kind of expressions and that. And I couldn't be more opposite. I love the animation style on this. I love how they use those, they harken back to anime to show them surprise, shock, or in awe, or, like you said, cuting out over Catra. I think anyone's got criticism of this animation style. I think what did you want? Did you want them looking like old 70s album art? Like how did you want it to be,
Sometimes I feel like they wanted them to look like the stiff Filmation animation just so it would be happy. But you know what? If they had that, they would complain about it as well. Everyone talks about Avatar being one of the best animated series ever, which I completely agree.
Yeah.
It did the same thing. It had a simplistic art style. It had a lot of anime influence to it. Every single animation style, whether it is Disney or CGI or anime, is influenced by something else. And if you're going to be influenced by something, by all means, take the best parts of that anime that you are being influenced by and make it part of what you are creating.
Well said. I agree, 100%. So to the haters out there, jam your criticism. Looks great.
Yes.
So,
Jam it where the sun don't shine.
another couple of bits about this episode I wanted to mention. Love it when they get the fuel source and how Milog connects with the ship, turns the ship invisible, and how they get past the blockade.
Yes, that was
Just a
great.
bit of a spaceship
Yes.
kind of fan. I love that shot of it looking like a blue comet just rocketing through them. Very cool.
Very nice, yes.
Yeah, it's very nice. So a really a good episode. Moving the plot forward. We know this is now the end of the space saga section of the of their journey. And you're right. It's 100% time to do that.
Yes.
It's appropriate. And we end the episode of them landing on full of hope at this point. In this moment, they are full of hope that they are now back on Etheria and things will get better.
And they have no idea.
They got no idea. As we push into the next episode with your evil laugh, Jason. Here we go. Episode 9, An Ill Wind. I've been guilty of producing an ill wind occasionally.
It happens. It's fine.
It happens. While Wrong Hordak's message of dissent spreads throughout the Empire, the squad infiltrates the town of Erlandia to get a lead on their friends. We didn't mention that before. Wrong Hordak coming to a realization at this point. In this was that in the last episode? Or was that
was
in this
in the last episode? Yes, Wrong Hordak is now he has
existential crisis.
The quickest existential crisis I've ever seen in my entire life.
I loved it. Oh my god, he is not all powerful. Hordak has lied to us.
I think it was funny how they kind of made a joke about how quickly he had this existential crisis, but at the same time, he went through all the stages of deconstruction.
Yeah.
He just went through them very quickly.
Very quickly. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, that puts us into this episode where quickly, as we kind of alluded to, Adora and her friends go back to the last known base camp, I believe, from their perspective, and discover it is trashed. It is done for. Nobody is there. And you can almost feel it in that scene when they discover it, that the wind has been taken out of their sails, pun intended. That things aren't exactly where they should be at this point. And pretty well, I think they get to understand the gravity of it, Jason, because they're attacked by one of the princesses pretty quickly in this episode.
Yes.
Spinnerella.
Yes, and I really hate that they chose this season to finally put a spotlight on Spinnerella and Natasha because they're interesting. I like their dynamic. I like how devoted Natasha is to her wife, and they waited until the last half of the season to show us this.
It's one of the strong elements, isn't it? This relationship.
Yes, it is.
I mean, obviously, as a long-term married person myself, I relate to that kind of, devotion and heartbreak and the decisions that Natasha has to potentially make because of it. It's pretty nuts, and there's a great little battle scene, and there you go. Obviously, that's the bit of, I did find this delightful, this moment, when obviously the princesses have no idea that Catra is on a path of retribution. Is that right? Redemption, not retribution. And, the immediate thing is, who is this? We've got to stop her straight away.
Catra! Hordak!
Exactly. You're bringing the bad guys.
Good comedy. Good tension-relieving comedy.
What a genius idea to have basically Etheria zombified at this point, isn't it?
Yes.
Because that's what's going on.
It's creepy, and I've pointed this out to you before to watch the intros during the last few episodes of this season because of all the subtle changes that they do. For example, at the very beginning of this intro, as they're showing Horde Prime's army, you see Mermista, you see Scorpia, you see Micah, and you see Natas, not Spinnerella, I
Wow.
believe. You
Wow,
see
I
all of
missed it.
these zombified people, and then they're missing out of Shira's group at the end.
Oh, that's so cool.
And
The little fine
I just think,
touches.
yeah, they're just small little things like that.
Yeah.
And as the season goes on and things kind of progress, well, no spoilers here, but whenever they, well, big spoiler here, but if you're watching this, you should already know when they rescue Spinnerella,
Yeah.
you see Spinnerella and Natasa, and they are just having this passionate embrace in the background. And there's just that
Yeah.
little moment of joy. You're just like, oh, look, she's back.
Yeah. 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 And it's getting her wife wasn't easy though. It wasn't like, oh, just
No,
knock her down once. It was a battle to be had,
no, Spinnerella is powerful. That's again, if I have any criticisms toward this series, I wish they'd done more with Spinnerella and Natasa before the last half of this season because they were always there in the background.
Yeah.
That's just it. They were just background. They never did anything.
There seems to be a lot of fertile ground in that storyline for me.
Indeed, yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of things they could have tackled. This is probably the first episode that we see Horde Prime slightly rattled, in my opinion, because he makes the choice in this episode to deal with it himself.
Yes,
Which is always a
Thanos'
good
that whole
sign
situation.
it's always a good sign in movies when the bad guy has to deal with it himself.
Yes.
He's got some issues, so things aren't going according to plan. So, and there's very much that, and knowing that Wrong Hordak is now, in a way, leader of the Hordak rebellion, internal rebellion in a way.
Pretty much. This cat has never played with this toy until she decided just now it makes just enough noise.
What toy is it, by the way?
It's
and if you don't know who we're returning to, we call our special guest, Battle Cat.
Yes, she's providing Foley for us today.
That's Jason's new kit.
She's got kitten Zoom. What are you doing with that logo? There we go.
There we go. Well, if I've got to bring up the Battle Cat logo, he might as well. Battle Cat's that much of a star, he's got to replace.
I agree. Jason, you know what? I will acquiesce. But it is one. It is a 3-layer ring, and there's a little ball inside each ring, and they've got little jingle bells on the inside. She's never touched it until just now. And now she's sitting over there. This makes just enough noise.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think she's on the side of Hordak Prime at the moment, I think.
I think she is. I think she's
Check the back of her neck for a little green gem.
I don't think she needs one. I think she went willingly. She's basically Crosshair in the Bad Batch. It's like, I never had one. This is what I chose. I choose the course of chaos.
Absolutely. Well, I've got nothing more to add with that episode. It's very a linear episode. Gets to it, like you said, it's really about Natessa and Spinderella, mainly about this episode. And, and Hordak making his, we're starting to see things fracture. So,
yes.
There's a lot of doom around this episode too, I must say. The dread of the situation, the stakes. And you know what? They've had huge stakes in this show, but I really feel it in the last half of this season that they really hammered the stakes down pretty hard. And, it's pretty great, I think, because season 5, you would have thought, she saved the world a couple of times now. I mean, what else can we do? No, they found a way. They really found a way here, so it's fantastic. And, there's the crew again there, so... again, Shira's redesign. I know you've been going on about it in the last episode and that, but I especially noticed it watching these episodes. She looks so much better with those long pants.
She does. The skirt and the short shorts just never worked for me. I thought that she looked like a teenager. With the redesign, she looks like a woman. And I don't know, maybe it was intentional.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past these guys to have made that intentional.
Yeah, maybe let's not really age her up, but as she matures as She-Ra, let's have She-Ra mature with her. I wouldn't put it past them. On the other hand, maybe they just realized, ooh, you know what, that costume really does suck. Let's change it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, Josh, maybe one of our viewers would be able to put a comment in about this, but I wonder what the timeline is, the series of this. Like, how many years or months does this series take place over?
I don't know.
It'd be an interesting thing to research.
Doesn't seem like it takes place over years.
I reckon
I
2 or
would
3 years.
maybe. I don't know. It seems like to me that this would be maybe a year for all of it. Maybe I could buy that. I could be completely wrong. That's just like what I think just by looking at it.
Well, if you guys know out there, leave us a comment because we ain't got no idea. So let's move on to episode 10. Return to the Fright Zone.
Bum bum bum.
Exactly. Adora, Catra, Perfumer, and Natasha re-enter the Fright Zone to rescue Scorpia, while Bo and Glimmer head to the library to check on Bo's dads.
Yes.
Two tales, two storylines. I love these episodes where everyone's got they split off in a group to achieve different agendas. Very cool. Very cool. Scorpia, the hunt for Scorpia, yes. And we all know how powerful she is, right, at this point?
Yes.
I think she's probably I don't know, out of the ones that have got turned, she feels like the one who is most capable of taking everyone down.
I would say it's Micah. But
yeah,
you know
actually,
what?
sorry, I forgot about that. Is that this episode where we get the scene with Glimmer and Micah?
We don't see that until next episode, I think.
Sorry.
But honestly, Mermista, Scorpia, Micah, or Spinnerella, any one of them could take him out. Yeah, they really made smart, dramatic choices in who got chipped. You know, Micah being the premier sorcerer on Etheria, not only is there that threat, but also keeps him away from Glimmer. Scorpia, at first I was like, really? We're going to chip Scorpia once we got her with the good guys? But she's super powerful and she's very smart. Natasha, I keep saying Natasha. Spinnerella, extremely powerful and overlooked. And then you got Mermista, who can basically drown anybody when she wants to. They are arguably, not counting She-Ra, the most powerful characters on the show. I don't know. She-Ra and Glimmer. Glimmer's pretty up there too.
Pretty up there as well.
But
I mean, it was only the last episode.
You can't break up the best friend squad though. So
no, you can't. You can't. We get a re-establishment of that, thankfully. Now we get an extra member in the best friend squad now, though, don't we? We have
yes, we do.
We have Catra in there, who in this episode is having to face up to the fact that she's going to have to deal with somebody that represents. Well, who was there for everything, for all the poor decisions Catra made. That person was there and stood by her, and she dismissed her. And I'm, of course, thinking about, Scorpia. That Catra knows that that's coming up. And I think that's big for Catra, having to face that because, she never treated her well. Never treated her well.
No, and I don't really think it was until Scorpia was gone that Catra realized how much Scorpia meant to her either. That is a hard lesson.
Yeah. In this episode, Adora and Perfumer get captured by the Horde too.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, which is this is one of those episodes too where, how with great movies and great TV shows, before there can be victory, you normally have to get to the point of your darkest hour.
Yes.
And we're in that territory in this episode.
We are. I would say most of the last half of the 5th season is the darkest hour or hours, I suppose.
When they get captured though, and Horde Prime basically says, look, I've figured out how to do this without you. And I'm thinking, shit, well, how do they get themselves out of this one? In the beginning, it's that normal thing, bullshit. Yeah, you don't know how to do it. But he said he found a way to activate the heart of Etheria without them. So I thought, okay, well, the stakes are raised even higher now because the one thing they thought they had in their sleep, they no longer have. So it was pretty full on, I thought, anyway.
Yeah, just great episode. Every episode has been a banger this entire season. And it's so well paced. Every episode has a point. Every episode knows where it needs to go. And it's just such great planning.
And it's, I'm going to go back to Scorpio now because she's been such a beautiful spirit throughout the show. I don't know how you make a bad guy, essentially, for most of the series to be one of the most sweetest individuals in this show. I think, genius. But it's the one thing that stops her from literally killing Adora and Perfumer. It's her consciousness in a way, you know what I mean? That's the trigger point. We get those glimpses. And we've kind of had it with a couple of other characters too, when we get the flashes of them fighting against the implant. You know what I mean? But it's the remnant of Scorpia's, you know, emotions or whatever that actually helps get her out of the situation. So
yeah, some of my favorite story arcs are from things like Steven Universe and Princesses of Power and Battlestar Galactica, and that is whenever a threat grows beyond simple good and evil.
Yeah.
And throughout this whole series, we have seen how there is no real good or evil. It's all shades of gray.
Yeah.
And cats running into things.
Yeah.
But now my entire train of thought just
hey,
got
it's
derailed.
her show. We're just guests on it, Jace.
I know.
That's hilarious.
But yes,
Catra,
not Catra. Scorpia is the perfect summation of that. Is that Scorpia is just a darling. She's wonderful. She's got a great heart and a great personality. She just happens to be with the Horde for most of the time.
Yeah, 100%.
Because she thinks she's right. She thinks the Horde is right, and she doesn't know any other way.
No, that's right. So she is, for a better part, stuck in the cult. You know what I mean? She's in a cult, just didn't know any better. So that's essentially what it is. Meanwhile, there's another journey going on in this episode.
There is.
With Glimmer and Bo reconnecting with Lance and... Oh, what's the other dad? George and Lance.
Lance and George, yes.
So, yeah, Lance. Lance or Lance? I don't know. Bloody Aussie accent.
Lance and Jorge. Lance and Jorge. There we go.
I will call them the exposition dads in this episode because they give us some vital information.
But I think that this is the reason why we got introduced to Bo's dads in the first place and why that they are archaeologists. It was for this very moment so they could give us this exposition.
They could let us know that there is indeed Mara had discovered a failsafe.
Yes.
So, which means it can completely deactivate the heart of Etheria. So, yeah, excuse me. Yeah, and that's kind of basically the episode. Oh, and Glimmer, I think she evacuates the Fright Zone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's getting to the point now where there's a lot of things happening, and we are, guys, I will say this, like I said at the beginning of this episode, this isn't the end of She-Ra. I can find ourselves doing a lot deeper dives as we go along. But it's certainly, and there's a lot to dig in this episode, especially if we were to revisit. This episode deserves an hour and a half, just talking about it alone. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah, we got some wonderful scenes in this. Seeing Scorpio come back is always a relief for me because she's one of my favourites. But yeah, it's like you said, we are really. It's not like this ends on a happy note either.
No. If anything, it's. You did not completely win. Also, we know where the most dangerous place in Etheria is, and we have to go there.
Yeah, exactly.
I just love the way I love the way Shadow Weaver just shows up. Like, this is the worst day ever. Poof, and I'm about to make it worse.
I mean, that's exactly where we go with this next episode, and that is Failsafe, episode 11. A strike team infiltrates Mysticore, searching for the Heart's Failsafe, the Crystal of Arxia, and Traptor and Swiftwind gather data on the chip network. And instantly, this episode is, we've got our old friend joining the gang again. Yeah, Shadow Weaver's back.
Yes.
And
such a great, every time I see her, I'm just like, oh, she's such a great character. I just love her.
And basically, Shadow Weaver... is this in this episode, or I feel like we've brushed past the whole Shadow Weaver and Caster Speller having to team up?
They did it a couple of episodes ago, and it was just a couple of scenes, but my favorite
It was the lead up to this episode, really.
Yeah, my favorite of those scenes that we kind of glossed over was whenever Shadow Weaver leads Castaspella, telling her, magic here is being held captive.
Yeah.
We've gotta let this thing go. And Castaspella says, "Oh, so you can take it for yourself? No, I need you to kill me if I try to take it for myself." And I'm just
Love
like,
that.
"Oh, this is getting serious."
Yeah, I love that line because that's what they shake hands on. That's the deal.
Yeah,
I'm going to try to do it, and you stop me if you think I'm going to take it for myself.
I just
I
wanted
don't
this
think at any
recurring.
point she's saying that because she doesn't trust herself, though.
I wanted this recurring gag of like Castaspella putting like a hand next to Shadow Weaver's head and just having it glow, and Shadow Weaver's like, "I'm not gonna take it. Are you sure?" "Yeah, I'm not gonna take it. Just back off, please." Achoo! Psh, I just sneezed. Will you stop?
But I really didn't think that at any point that was Shadow Weaver's agenda here at any point. She is, like everyone else, she knows this is it. We've got one shot at this to save everything. She frames it around that she owes Micah, that her motivation is to save Micah, because I remember her saying that line.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that she. Well, I agree with Shadow Weaver. To be honest, I
Yeah.
think that everything she says is truthful. I
Yeah.
think that she does want to save Micah. She does want to make things right with him, and I do think she's afraid that she's going to take all this power for herself. I think
Yeah.
that she believes that the temptation is going to be too great, and she knows that if she does that, she becomes a threat that could destroy all of Etheria. She's seen it. She has fallen victim to it, and
Yeah.
she knows what it does to you. In a sense, she is the basic meth head who's about to go back into the den, and she does not want to go back down that path again. Now, she's still the same old Shadow Weaver. She's still a controlling narcissist. She still can't really she still doesn't really completely understand how her abusive nature has affected those around her. I think that Micah, though, is the one that she can see because he's right there. He is consumed by dark magic, and she has proof of it right there. With
Yeah.
Adora and Catra, it's all speculative, and she can't see it.
No.
So I
That's a
think
very
that's
good
why
point.
saving Micah is so important to her.
To her. Well, her message here ain't a great one when they come back, and because really, I don't know if you struggled with accepting the reality of what the task is, but it's basically they need somebody who can resist the power of it long enough
Yes.
for the failsafe to kick in, right? Which means Shira,
Yes.
and it's implied heavily. Well, I don't know if it's actually said, but it's implied heavily. It's a life-ending experience. The chances of coming out of this almost zero.
Yeah, I think that the actual answer is I don't know. I don't know if you're going to make it through this.
Yeah,
But
but
of course-
I felt from the scene as like, oh no, she's going to have to sacrifice for this series to end. She's going to have to sacrifice herself.
Yes.
and that's where my mind went, and I'm like, I'm like, no, don't do that. And then there's the evil part of me going, no, do it, because it would be, I would be baffled for years over that. I'd have to I'd have to go and do dissertations and trying to figure out why they did that. They don't, spoiler alert. But still, that's the stakes at this point. And everybody is obviously no way. We're not allowing this to happen. But what other choice do they got?
Yeah, I liked Catra's line about it doesn't always have to be you.
Yeah. Oh, God, wasn't that such a beautiful line? It doesn't always... And she says it as she's breaking up. You know what I mean? The way she delivers that line was amazing. What about that scene when Micah attacks, though?
Oh, so spooky. It's just ruthless.
They do the old switch and bait with this series of characters, don't they? Because you
They
see
really
Micah
do.
in the beginning, and he's a bit of a little bit nutty, but he's this lovable, kind of caring king and all this kind of the sweetest guy. And then you chip him, and he becomes the threat, the big bad, the
Indeed.
guy that everybody's terrified of. And
Indeed,
it's
yes.
Except for Battle Cat. Battle Cat does not care about how scary Micah is or isn't. So.
No, Battle Cat would just be running around, smashing into walls, knocking stuff over. Mike would be trying to do his spells like, who did what? What is that? What is that? Ow, something just crawled up my leg. This cat is...
But we do have that bit of a redemption moment with Micah, don't we?
Yes, we do.
We do, which is wonderful. And yeah, which is great. I mean, he basically sees his friends in danger, and then Adora enables Adora to transform into She-Ra, thus fused with the failsafe. So, which is a great scene, played out so well. And I feel like I'm not giving it just desserts, but it's, trust me, I'm watching it and I'm eating it up at this point, Catch was really struggling in this episode at some points because I think at this point, without exposing what happens in the next couple of episodes, there's more than a friendship developing from Catra's side about Adora.
Yes.
There are feelings that are starting to emerge.
Oh, I think they've been around for a very long time.
I think so too, but that's what they're projecting to us as the viewer at this point. This is probably, for me, as a bit of an old timer, maybe a bit slow in the uptake, but I really feel there are certain elements, reaction shots to Adora that is, that is really starting to put that down. In fact, even that episode, episode 8, there was a bit of that too, wasn't there? I was starting to have those kind of lingering looks, so...
Oh, yes.
But I love it. But she is struggling with it at this point because, again, I think Catchers are terrified that Adora is going to lose her life over this task. And she leaves Milog. I can't believe I didn't figure out it was Gollum spelled backwards. But, yeah. But Milog, with Adora. And Traptor begins working, taking down Prime's hive mind network, which is cool.
Entrapped in Swiftwind is the team up I never knew I always wanted.
I can't remember if they had been matched up before or not. I don't think they had.
I think they have, and I think that just seeing Swiftwind go from the carefree horsey to, oh my gosh, I have to babysit this little psycho is just wonderful.
Yeah. All framed around a ticking clock, might I
yes,
add.
Indeed.
Which I love, a good ticking clock in a show or a movie where the time is against them. They've got to bring this hive network down before it's too late, basically, because Entraptor's aware that, everything is bearing down on the good guys at this point. It's really, if we're in the darkest hour, we're getting close to the darkest minutes of this series. Because, wow, they really know how to frame like a last second retrieval in this, which I really, really enjoyed because, the suspense building in this episode was fantastic.
It really is. And of course, we also get the return of, I guess we can call him Right Hordak.
Yeah, Right Hordak. I'll go with that.
Yeah, we get the Right Hordak has returned, even for just a split second, but we know he's still in there.
Well, because we get that little flash sequence of him having memories of her.
Yes, and it's done so well.
It is done so well, and it's I thought it was I thought it was really good too. But there is part of me, we'll talk about it coming up soon, that's thinking, hey, Entraptor, aren't you already, you're already friends with one Hordak? He may not be the right Hordak, but he's your Hordak. No, but it is.
She wants all the Hordaks to herself.
Who knew though, Jason? I tell you what, I wouldn't have picked up on it early when they had Entraptor with Hordak early in the series, that relationship would be so definitive throughout that series.
It's pretty crazy, but honestly, it's probably the only real friendship that Hordak's ever had.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's it's playing out beautifully.
Yeah, which of course elevates Hordak to more than just the evil guy. He's an evil, needy guy who just needed a friend.
He needed a friend. There is a bit of when you think about Hordak, though, and you think about his situation and, his motivation and drive the whole time was to reconnect with his abuser.
Yeah.
There's actually something to be said there if you're actually really
there's
thinking
lots
about
of themes of recovering from abuse in this series.
it.
Lots.
Wow, it's and it's done with such style and tact too. I mean, it's just handled perfectly. So yeah, but now we're getting on to what? I mean, they're split into 2 episodes, Jace, but it's really one big episode, isn't it?
Yeah, that's fine. Let's just treat it as one.
I've got it in 2. Sorry, wrong one. I've got it in 2 parts, which is the Heart Part 1, the Best Friends Squad. Yes, heads for the Heart while the princesses attack the Spire, so Entraptor can disrupt the chip network. Horde Primes makes his move. And it's one long episode, really. But I love it. I love it. It starts.
Great. Love it. Yes.
It opens up on a great little action scene. You know, everyone's on their mission. So we're getting straight into it there. We've still got Scorpia, who was disrupted, but let me just... she's still with the bad guys at this point. Her and Mermister are still side by side with Horde Prime. So... it's it's all happening in this episode, and I'm going to throw the next image out there as well because I just want to get to this scene, which was so powerful for me, and this is the scene here. You know, with Glimmer connecting with her surviving parent, you know, and going through all that. I don't know about you, Jace, but yeah, it's a tough episode, 2 episodes to watch these 2 episodes because I know it's the end. And you don't want it to end.
I'm right there with you.
So it's hard to watch because you see scenes and then it's occurring to you as you're watching it. Oh, we're tying up this journey now. These moments are being ended for us.
Yes.
So it does become a sequence of that, you know. And it's, if I was to have any criticism over this series, it is with this last episode. Which is normal, I think, for finales. I don't think everyone always loves everything about finale, you know. Couldn't think of a perfect one of any show that I've ever seen. So yeah, how are you feeling about this penultimate episode?
Well, I'm going to echo what you said about a criticism of the finale, and that is that I don't think it gave us I don't know. I want closure, and while it did give us closure, it also left a lot of things open. And I'm just going to jump to the end. There's an entire society of Horde clones on Etheria now. With Hordak, what's going to happen to them?
Exactly, because in a way they're refugees.
Yeah, you know, I wouldn't have minded.
They've been disconnected. Yeah.
I wouldn't have minded a wrap up, kind of like what they did with 6 Feet Under, where they just kind of jump forward ahead a couple of years and just take it in steps. You know, 10 years from now, 50 years from now, 70 years from now, and just show us what happens with these differing cultures. You know, like what they did with did the same thing with regular show as well, just to show us where they all end up, because I'm curious. I want to know.
Well, you've got that weird dynamic of Hordak and wrong Hordak. Like, is Hordak rehabilitated at this time?
I don't know.
I'm not think he is. I think he's been disconnected from the hive, but am I convinced that his evil nature is gone? I don't know.
I'm with Mermista. Are we just okay with this? I'm also not okay with the fact that wrong Hordak disappears completely from the finale once right Hordak comes back.
Yeah.
To me, that wrong Hordak was such a great character, and just to have him vanish was so wrong.
It is so wrong. And you know what I want to see more of? It's because you've got a very interesting relationship you can deal with Entraptor, wrong Hordak, and Hordak.
Yes.
Like, there's a lot of stuff to be mined there, and I think and I think if they had another season, that certainly would have been one of the things they would have explored.
She would have been collecting Hordaks like action figures. Have you seen my collection over here? That one's wrong Hordak. That one's Buzzsaw Hordak. That one's right Hordak. That one's Pirate Hordak. I don't know where he came from.
It's I don't want to sound awful about this last episode, but nothing really surprises me in this last episode. I know Prime then starts tapping in, and we've got the ticking clock still going in a way. But yeah, it seems like we're just hitting the beats. And I know that sounds awful. Um, there's some beautiful moments when Adora is rescued by Catra and Shadow Weaver. That whole thing kind of playing out was a big plus about this last double episode too, wasn't it?
Yes, wrapping up Shadow Weaver the way they did with her going
Yeah.
out like a hero to
Oh,
protect her girls. This is the thing. Shadow Weaver was a narcissistic abuser who did unspeakable things to those poor girls, but I think she did love them. And I
yeah.
think that she never really knew how to love them. And I think that the only way that she could show them was to end herself for them.
Yeah. 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 And you get that wonderful reveal. Oh, Battle Cat's in the house
Yeah,
again.
she
Battle
just pulled down
Cat.
she pulled down my laundry. Like all of it is on the floor right now.
She's excited about this finale as much as we are.
Yeah. But
Um,
I'm just going to build off what you said for a second.
yes, go.
Where yes, it does hit beats that you are expecting, but at the same time, it's cathartic. It is satisfying. It is done in a very good way. You get a wrap up of the Cat Dora storyline where they finally admit that they do have feelings for each other and they do the thing. And in
Beautiful.
2020, it was still very. I don't know. We had the Legend of Korra, and we'd had a few episodes of Steven Universe, but to have a main character get into a same sex relationship still is kind of surprising to me. And I don't know, even though Catra had said, "Oh, she doesn't love me like she doesn't want me like I want her," for some reason it just didn't click in here. You know, my big dumb man brain is just like, hey, they want to be friends. Yeah, they want to be friends with kissing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
and I think that's
I was
great.
surprised when that happened.
Well, yeah, I am. I'm not. I'm not shocked from. Oh, it's a couple of females kissing. I don't think the gay thing shocks me as much as the turnaround from being almost killing each other within the same season to now being in love. But that can happen. It's not out of the realms of reality. I've heard stories of couples who hated each other, and next thing they know, they're in a relationship. So it kind of happens, you know. So I think it's wonderful. I think it's a reflection of the time we're in, and it makes perfect sense to me. You know what I mean? I think sexuality and gender politics has never been handled with such care and expertise in a TV show or a film medium that I've ever seen before. I think this handles everything right. I think you'd have to be a bit of a lunatic to have a problem with the sexual politics in this show, I think.
We have a lot of lunatics in the world, and
Yeah, we do.
I'm
I don't see a lot of it, so I don't read a lot of that trolling stuff. But
you're not in the middle of you're not in the middle of where I'm at.
yeah, it's true.
That way.
And you are in a very different environment. There is a lot of those issues. But you know what?
Lot of morons.
Thank God for shows like this that continually make strong attempts to educate those who need educating. So
Absolutely.
brilliant.
I have seen this kind of thing handled before. As I said, Legend of Korra, which was the Avatar spinoff, did a really good job of it. And I'm gonna say this series again, Steven Universe did an excellent job.
I've never seen that ever. Now you've got me interested in that.
It's one of those things where each episode is only 15 minutes long.
Yeah.
So they're very bite-sized. Some episodes are not that great, but then they turn around and they do an episode that's amazing, and you're just like, why don't they do this all the time? Yeah. It's hit or miss. It's mostly miss in the beginning. It's mostly hit at the end. But they just do such amazing work with this episode, and they hit themes of transgenderism. They hit themes of being non-binary, same-sex relationships, but they don't do it in ways that makes it feel like they're hitting you over the head with it, because it's all done metaphorically.
Well, you know, something you may not, the audience would know, and you may not know, I've actually have a trans family member who is close to my age. And one of the things that they've always commented to me was the fact that especially in that subject. When you try to hit people over the head of it, then that's not where we want to be. We want to be accepted, and normalization is the goal here. So there isn't really any pointing or any allowances, except for the fact we're just like everybody else, and that's all we want. So, and I know for her, she goes, the best stuff when it's handled when it's like matter of fact. Like that character could be male, female, trans, it doesn't matter. It's just the way they handle it. She goes, it's very rare in media. I've actually really asked my cousin to please watch the show because I think they would absolutely love it. So, but yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? When you hit people over the head with it, I think that's when you start to provide sometimes division. And those who probably maybe not as evolutionally higher in the mental scale, that's where they plant their flags on sides. But I love shows, and especially this one gets top-notch marks for just normalising that there are different people from different walks of life, period. And it's cool, and everyone is there for their own reasons, and really it's the story that matters, not what a character does behind closed doors.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, very cool. Very, very cool. Can I just say though, another thing I mentioned about trans though and non-binary is the lack of double trouble.
They made a cameo.
They made a cameo, but I wanted...
They made a cameo, yeah. Double Trouble was never going to be there for the family picture at the end. They would have thought it was tacky. Like, oh,
you know what I would have done with Double Trouble? I would have spun off Double Trouble into his own little shorts like Roger Rabbit or something like that, where we could get like short 5-minute episodes of Double Trouble in a new adventure. I would be down for that.
I would be down for it as well.
Yeah, because
even if it's just Double Trouble's, just showing Double Trouble doing a stage show. Like, hi everyone, it's me on stage.
I do like the idea of Double Trouble finding themselves in a new environment, getting into a new adventure, getting themselves in a pickle. I don't know. Just such.
See, that's why we need DreamWorks and Mattel to work together so that we can have a crossover. Put Double Trouble on Eternia. That would be amazing.
She'd bring that place to its knees.
They would.
They would bring that place to their knees. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? I'd be all here for it. Just have. I told you I want to do a Snake Mountain spinoff where it's just The Office on Snake Mountain. Yeah. Double Trouble has got to be a character on my Snake Mountain spinoff.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. They're kind of like the one of the characters at the back who's probably not as popular in the first couple of seasons, but they start to, who am I thinking of? The guy who holds the chili. One of the accountants.
Right. Oh, I can't remember his name. I didn't really watch The Office. I had nothing against it. I just never watched it.
But yeah, that format. Yeah. Some of the great things back to this finale I loved is Scorpia.
Mm-hmm.
Man, is she powerful. They've got some red lightning bolts shooting out of her claws, and she's literally crippled the whole lot at that point.
I enjoyed how the bad guys combined the zombified hero's power, because usually that's something you see the heroes do to get out of situations. It was a nice little turnaround to see the bad guys doing it.
Yeah. We get a face-off.
Yes.
And...
Can we talk about how smart Hordak's plan was?
Yes.
Because he figured everything out, and he decided, I can take out the variable right now. Doink. That was just wonderful.
I thought it was brilliant. No, absolutely. But, hey, we lose him fairly early on in this, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
We lose that body.
But, this is where we go Ultron.
The Ultron Hordak. I enjoyed how Hordak had his moment of victory, and it was snatched away from him that quickly and that easily. And you feel bad for him. You feel so bad. Like, oh, really? No.
This close. But yeah, he is Ultron in a way, because obviously he's a hive mentality, which means it ain't the end of Hordak as the end of Hordak Prime's body, but Hordak Prime is still quite viable at that point.
Yes,
which is pretty great. were you at the end of this episode? Like, the finale works out perfect. I think it's done well. It's emotionally powerful. It really hits the right beats. But the biggest criticism is moments after that, we are getting quick scenes and we are out.
Yes.
And I think I said before the show,
unsatisfying. Yes.
Before the show, it reminded me of some films in the 80s where they would beat the bad guy or they would win the race at the end of it, and it literally 3 frames is of the celebration, and that's it. And this is a show that I think we both agree, Jason, that needed more time at the end. It really needed this to be a 3-part episode in a way, because as we've discussed earlier, you could have jumped forward. There's so much you could have done. But it is also, I am being reflective and going, but you're so emotionally committed to the show, no matter how they were going to end it, you're not going to be happy, like, really, are you? And I do take that self-criticism on board.
I have to say, I'm going to go back to Steven Universe again. Steven Universe went 5 seasons. They had a big finale, and then they ended it. But then they came back with another season where they leaped, I think, 2 years into the future, and they called it Steven Universe Future.
Yeah, okay.
And it was an entire season that served as an epilogue to the entire series. And it showed where these characters ended up. It showed how the main character was pretty much damaged mentally by everything that he had to endure. And it was very interesting because I've never seen an entire season serve as an epilogue before. But it was such a neat way to wrap everything up and show that after that big family shot at the end and the credits start to roll, things aren't over. Not by a long shot. And I really think that this series could have had an epilogue season.
I mean, you got
even if it was just 6 episodes, just an epilogue season. Have, each episode, first episode is a year later, second episode is 5 years later, third episode is 10 years later. Fourth, you go 50 years, and then the last one is 100 years in the future.
Yeah, where the torch has been passed on to the next era.
Yes,
that's how I would have kind of gone.
You got this weird little human cat hybrid sitting there going, "I don't know how I'm here, but I'm all for it." Yonder Grayskull. What the heck is a Grayskull? I don't know. Meow.
Hey, we've got some powerful scenes. I don't want to skip past some of the really powerful scenes in this. We kind of briefly mentioned it, but Shadow Weaver basically giving her life to defeat the monster. Really great. Really wonderful.
Yes.
The reawakened Hordak turning against Horde Prime.
Great. That was
great.
So awesome. You
know what I mean? The fact that it's really... And I know people will be rolling their eyes at this, are groaning, but it's a kiss that kind of helps She-Ra get what she needs to bring down the heart. You know what I mean? It's very fairy tale-ish.
Build a bridge between
it's very fairy tale-ish, but I'm good with it.
And Adora. Yes, it's dorky, it's fairy tale, it's kind of corny, but you know what? It works. Fine. It's fine.
Works.
Sometimes you just need that extra kick to know it's not just you. And it doesn't have to be just you. Sometimes it's us. And that sometimes us gives you the strength you need to do the impossible. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I also, can I say, I love the moment where she basically rips the soul out of Horde Prime's body. Kind of expels it.
That was rad.
Yeah, that was really cool. Hey, I dug that big time.
I dig Catra's reunion with Scorpia. Whenever she finally accepts the hug, I was all for that.
Oh my God, I was almost tearing up at that moment because it's Scorpia.
I loved when She-Ra came back on the scene and she's just strutting out, and everywhere she steps is just becoming green and full of life until all of Etheria is just blooming everywhere, and Perfume is like, isn't that my thing? But that's okay. She's fine with it.
She'll have therapy. She'll go and have some therapy.
There's so much. There really is. There's a lot of greatness in this finale, and
there really is because it's very beautiful.
It's great.
Yeah. And I will say that. I mean, in retrospect, any criticism I made, this is basically saying, oh, this is almost 10 out of 10, but I can't give it 10 out of 10. It's more like a 9.3, which is extremely complimentary, is my intention of this, because it is wonderful. And hey, we've just been waxing lyrically about us going, we wanted more. So
Yes.
clearly we
Well,
love it, don't we?
that's when a series knows when a series of quality knows when to go out, is leaving the audience wanting more. It's
And
not
we
like The
have,
Walking Dead where you're just like, when will this end? The
yeah,
Simpsons, oh my gosh, how is this still on the air? Family
yeah,
Guy, oh, this was great 10 years ago. With
yeah,
Shira, it goes out right when it needs to. It goes out on top. It goes out as a champ. And
yeah.
I think honestly, that's where a lot of our saltiness comes from, is that we were not ready to let it go.
No. I think now the series is over, I've got a couple of questions to ask you. Do you think Netflix really understood what they had on their hands? Because I look at this from retrospect, I look at the coverage on it, and it's like I have to dig to find a lot of stuff about this, and I don't know if Netflix really appreciated, or Mattel on the other hand, whoever owns this license, what they really had on their hands.
I think DreamWorks knew what they had, because
Yeah.
DreamWorks are the ones who put the care into it, but it was not marketed very well. There
No.
was very little merchandise to go along with it.
Yeah.
I am lamenting the fact that apparently I will never have, the Masterverse Adora and the Masterverse Catcher and the Masterverse Shadow Weaver. I don't know what the mattress verse is. I don't know why I said it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think that DreamWorks put all the work and all the passion into it, and Netflix was just kind of like, yeah, we'll put it on
I
sometime
wonder if
around
they
Big
ever
Mouth comes
released a
out.
Blu-ray set or anything like that,
I
because
I think that they have. I
yeah, I wonder if
don't
there's
know
any,
for
because I'd
certain.
love to hear commentary. I've started actually, once I finished this series, started then to start watching interviews with the creators and the actors, and that's been kind of really great. So, because I'm trying to understand is clearly it was a Netflix decision not to continue it, I think. Because as much
I
as they
don't know if it was
perfectly
a.
ended it, I still feel they kind of gave me the impression that they had more material to mine here.
I don't know if it was Netflix's decision or
Or
not.
maybe DreamWorks. Yeah.
It. I think it was DreamWorks, to be honest. And looking
Okay.
here, there is a She-Ra and the Princesses of Power complete series and shorts on Blu-ray. I didn't know there were shorts.
Yes. What's the shorts about, Jace?
I don't know. I may have to drop $60
Good.
on this Blu-ray package just to
I
see.
think he might be, and I might be
Hmm.
too.
Princess
Because,
Rebel recruitment shorts and the Swift Wind Adventures shorts.
but I want that. I want that
I'm
yesterday.
very upset that I did not know that this existed until now. Hmm.
Holy moly! There you go. That's what's worth doing the show. You get to, we ask questions and we get to discover new things.
Look at that.
Um,
It turns
I'm just
out
going to
it's
be
not
repeating
over
my,
after all.
I'm just going to be repeating myself if I go on about how much I love the show. It's clearly, this has been an absolute delight. I've said this privately, but I want to say this publicly. I want to thank you personally for opening my eye. I never would have watched this until we started this journey on Power of J Skull. And you go, oh, you wait till you see She-Ra, you wait till you see She-Ra. And that was the first I'd known about it. So to be gifted this and to be guided through this journey from the person giving me that gift, mate, I've been absolutely thrilled. It's been one of the highlights the last few years, just getting to discover a show that I wouldn't have normally maybe clicked on, in a world full of so much content, to have someone who goes, oh no, you're going to love this. And for that to come to fruition, and in a way, in the beginning thinking, maybe he's overselling it, to watching it go, oh no, you undersold it. Just thank you. I wanted to say that publicly.
Well, I'm a big fan of Doctor Who, and everybody keeps wondering, why does the Doctor always choose a human to go with him? And it's because the Doctor likes to see the universe through the eyes of someone else. And so I want to thank you for going on this journey with me so that I could experience this again and see your enthusiasm and pleasure from watching this as well. So, thank you also.
And from that, obviously my reaction to it, did that in any way reframe how you looked at certain episodes out of curiosity? Because I would assume there are probably some times that I would focus on something and you go, yeah, kind of, yeah. I felt the same way, but I can see where he's coming from. But yeah, I
If
imagine that
anything,
was the case.
if anything, it's given me appreciation for how well planned this series was. Because I
And
do think the second that they wrote that first episode, they knew how it was going to end. They knew how they were going to end it. They knew how they were going to bring it to a close. And that's why the series was so strong.
Yeah. And that got me straight away because I'm all about storytelling in a way. That's what I love the most. And, you know, by osmosis, after watching content for, you know, nearly 50 years, you pick up what is good storytelling and what is poor storytelling. And so this show identified, I think, very early on. I went, no, there's something different going on here. And yeah, thank God for it. And you know, before because I want to talk about what potentially is next for us, but before we do that, we've been running something called Cast and Call here for months. And we're at the big fish time, so we've got to do this before we wrap.
We got to
this
do
up.
it, yeah. There's
And
so
that
many
is-
there's so many we didn't do, but we're gonna do this one.
And like I said, it isn't over, but we're doing the big fish today. We are doing Adora/Shira. I couldn't find the one with the long pants. I do apologise. I was annoyed I couldn't find one.
We're doing a little nostalgia today.
It's still in nostalgia. Now,
Even though I don't like that costume, I still love her. So.
I do believe when this came up in our chat last week, I wrote the message that I was utterly intimidated by having to find an actor for this role because this is the key here, Jace. This is you need a strong lead to carry the route. You need someone that the audience is going to follow with, root with, ride the highs and the lows. So I was very nervous about this. So like the yellow person I am, I'm going to throw it to you first and who your pick was.
Okay, so I approached this. My choice for playing Catra was Zendaya because I think Zendaya is not only incredibly talented, I think she can play that emotional vulnerability that Catra's known for, while at the same time just being absolutely ferocious and ruthless, which she wanted to be. So I thought, who could play opposite of someone like Zendaya? And I came up with an actress that I have been watching since I think she was 10 when she first showed up, and just completely owned the movie that she showed up in.
Sure.
And that actress, and I know I'm going to say her last name wrong because I have been practicing it all day, and I realized that I never really knew how to say her last name, but I chose Chloe Grace Moretz. Okay,
That's
I apologize. I am not worthy to say her name, but my first movie I ever saw her in was Kick-Ass, where she played Hit Girl. She stole that entire movie from the likes of Nicolas Cage and Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Cage.
Yeah, she stole scenes from Nick Cage.
From Nicolas Cage, like that's
Nick freaking Cage. So I think Chloe Grace could easily fill the tiara of She-Ra.
She can be. You know what's great about her as an actress? She's got really good comedic timing, and she emotes really well on screen.
She does, yes.
She's got those eyes where you can follow along in the subtext of the character because, you know, eyes being windows to the soul, she really projects that when she's on screen. So I thought she is absolutely fantastic choice. I wondered if age was maybe rooting against her, but she's so youthful looking. And if it was me, Jason, this is something we haven't discussed, and I want to throw out there before I go to my character. Would it, if we were now, we've cast it, we were developing.
She's only 26.
Really?
Yes.
I would suggest the movie that we're casting for is an actual sequel to the series. Because I think that's where you have to go with it. Let's not do the origin story, but how are you going to justify 5 seasons in one? I think you do what happens next. This satisfies our need, does it not, for more
It
stories
does.
in the universe. And it also makes Chloe Grace Moretz age appropriate, perfectly age appropriate. Which then brings me to my choice because I won't repeat what I think I put in the chat when I saw that you chose Chloe. I was like, yeah, it's a word we won't use on this show. But I had to think hard, and I had no idea where I was going to go. Then I remembered one of my favourite movies I've seen in the last couple of months was this bizarre little movie called The Menu, which I really love. Had the kid from X-Men, Nicholas Hoult, and Mad Max Fury Road, had Anna Taylor-Joy in it, and it also had Ralph Fiennes. Bizarre movie, but I love her. And I've seen her in a few things. I think, like, I loved her since I saw her in The Witch, which I really dig that movie. So, I mean, she's got talent she plays very stoic. And I think the challenge for her would be to, whether she could be the lighter side of Adora, whether she could do that side. But I think, obviously, she looks the part. And I think she has the screen presence. Like, I think she'd be great as She-Ra. So, but I will bow down to you. Out of the two, I would probably offer to Chloe first. But Anya would be a great second choice, in my opinion.
I have not seen a lot of Anya Taylor-Joy movies yet. Everybody keeps recommending The Menu. And that's one I need to sit down and watch one of these days because I've had so many people tell me how great and weird The Menu is, and I love weird movies.
Yeah, I know you've got eclectic taste, so I think you would
that's a very interesting way of saying that I have 2001: A Space Odyssey right next to Tank Girl on my shelf over there. Rachel Tallack, great movie.
Yeah, 1992 or 93.
It was 95.
Wow, later than I thought.
Yes.
Yeah, had
Naomi Watts' film debut.
Exactly. Yes. Young Australian girl. We'd seen her on television over here before she made her.
And Ice-T as a kangaroo.
Yeah, I don't know if he knew exactly what he was signing up for, but there you go. He's still great. I like Ice-T.
Oh, I love Ice-T.
I think I think that's post New Jack City at least.
It is. Yes, this was on the other side of that, and
definitely.
I just remember seeing the previews and somebody said an Ice-T, and I saw that and I was like, what in the world did they do to him? I must see this movie. And I did, and it was amazing.
No, Anna Taylor-Joy, she definitely does do stranger films in some way, but she's a talent, no doubt. And I think you want to bring star power to a movie, you get her on board. The good thing about getting her on board, like Zendaya is going to want to play against someone like that, who's, you know, Oscar, probably in that Oscar level, if there's such a thing. So, but no, that's who we go. So, you know what we're going to do, Jace? I think we're going to have to do a show. We don't know when because we're going to go back to some He-Man, Master of the Universe, keep deep character dives, I believe, Jace. I think there's a few characters we haven't done there.
Yes.
But we're going to do an episode, I think, and you don't know this yet, where we're going to go through everyone we've picked over the episodes of our characters, and then we'll fill in the rest that we haven't cast to complete our She-Ra cast for our sequel to She-Ra Princess of the Power. How does that sound?
You're going to make us do Glimmer and Hordak and all these other characters that are going to be in one show. Are you in one
show, dude? The whole show, guys, is going to be centered around rounding out our cast for the She-Ra movie. So we're going to have homework.
You're a maniac.
And we're not doing it next week. We'll have plenty of time to do our research, Chase. So, but there you go. So that literally ends the She-Ra retrospective, our first kind of bite into it. We are now, like I said, we are going to go back to He-Man. That also means the return of R. Skeletor. He is apparently on vacation at the moment, so he will be back, guys. R. Skeletor will return to answer your questions next week. Now, Jace, you may not have planned it, not next week, next show. Who are we doing our Keep Deep character dive on next show? Have you...
I think if we're going to do a character deep dive, we need to do one of the greats. And I think that we need to visit Orko. Orko the Great.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I can't wait. I can't wait. And you know what? I got to say this. How many episodes are we going to watch? Because I think there's about 3 iterations of Orko that I kind
There
of...
are. I don't want us revisiting the CGI version just yet.
Ooh.
Because I think we need to do a retrospective on that one since Netflix saw it necessary to not continue it.
In saying that, if we're doing a retrospective, though, it's probably fair to say that the storyline isn't complete then, is it?
It's
or
complete.
have they?
They completed the storyline. They did a good job, but they have a cliffhanger at the end.
Yeah.
Where they have a character show up, and you
That's
see
not
him
going to
coming.
matter. This isn't the Sixth Sense. It's okay.
You see it. You see him coming. It's Hordak.
Yep.
Hordak shows up. I'm not going to ruin how he shows up or the context in which he shows up,
but he's there.
But he's voiced by the great Kevin Conroy, and it is so sad that we will never hear Kevin Conroy play Hordak in a season.
Was that one of his final performances?
I believe that was one of his final roles, yes. His final role, though, appropriately, will be Batman in Justice League, in Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League.
Oh, okay.
So,
great.
Anyway, yes.
Okay.
But Hordak made such an impression in the last 10 seconds that he was in that episode that they actually made an action figure of that little 10-second, and I have it, of course. They
were intending to, obviously,
they were intending to have Hordak as the big bad of that next season, and then Netflix was like, no, we're done. And so, yeah. But at least we get Hordak in Masters of the Universe Revolutions. So we got that.
Well, that was the other thing I discovered during the week too, was the fact that Mr. Oblivious here didn't know there was a sequel being done for Revelation.
Oh, yes.
Now the thing is how I knew, because Teela's been recast. Sarah Michelle Gellar is no longer doing the voice and has been recast by, I've gone blank. Who'd they recast her with?
Oh, goodness.
It was
I don't recall.
She has been... Melissa Benoit from Supergirl.
Yes, Supergirl, yes.
Great choice.
I don't know why they recast Sarah Michelle Gellar, because I think she's got a very distinct voice, and I really enjoyed her as Teela. It could have been a scheduling thing. It was. A pay thing.
I read up on it. It was
a scheduling.
She's her new show that's out at the moment.
Oh yeah, she's doing that one on Paramount Plus. The Wolf Pack.
She's leading it. Yeah, the Wolf Pack. So that's one of the main reasons.
So, I'm very sad that she won't be in it, but on the other hand, Melissa Benoit is extremely talented, and I really enjoy her. So it's just kind of like, oh, she's not coming back. Oh no, wait, who's taking over? Yay! So a little bit.
Yeah, but my reaction was, "There's more? Oh my god, there's more! I can't wait! I can't wait!"
Yes. Do you know how everyone found out about it? This is so funny.
Yeah,
it's because Mark Hamill came on Twitter one day and said, I don't want to spoil anything, but I got laryngitis because I spent all day screaming into a microphone. And then the voice actor for Orko said, me too. And everybody was like,
1 + 1 = awesome.
So I'm pretty sure that was the creators telling them, hey, it'd be funny if you did this. Because that sounds like a Kevin Smith thing. So
absolutely. Well, excellent. So we got a lot coming up on the show, guys. This isn't a show that's going to be ending for a while, because this universe is far more expansive than I thought in the beginning when Jennings. So I'm really excited. We got lots of great stuff coming up. Guys, if you like what you see, remember to like, subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell. Yes, it's the spiel we always say, because the more likes we get, the more viewers we get. It gives us a guide of whether you're enjoying the content or not. And also saying that in your comments, if you have ideas for certain characters that we'd like to talk about, or any type of suggestions, please feel free and let us know. So from me, VHS Jace, and Mr. Jason Roy Gadsden, throw us out, mate, with that booming voice.
You have been watching The Power of J-Skull, and may the honor of Grayskull be with you forever.
See you guys.